Let's start with tariffs, a tax on imported goods. When a product crosses a border into a new country, the government can charge a fee, or tariff, before it's allowed in. This fee is added to the cost of the product, making it more expensive for consumers and businesses who want to buy it. For example, when you buy a foreign-made car, a tariff can make it noticeably pricier than a similar car made locally. This price difference is intentional. It's designed to encourage you to choose domestic products, supporting local manufacturers and workers. Governments often use tariffs as a tool to protect their own industries and safeguard jobs. By making imported goods more expensive, they hope to give local businesses a competitive edge, but the reality is more complicated than it seems. Other countries don't just sit back. They usually respond with their own tariffs, leading to tit-for-tat trade disputes. These so-called trade wars can disrupt the flow of goods around the world, delay shipments, and ultimately raise prices for everyone, from big companies to everyday shoppers. The effects of tariffs ripple through the entire economy. They influence what you pay at the store, the variety of products available on shelves, and even the choices businesses make about what to sell or produce. In recent years, the US has used tariffs more aggressively, especially against powerful emerging economies like China, India, Brazil, Russia, and South Africa, countries that make up the BRICS group. This approach marks a significant shift in global trade policy, challenging decades-old rules and alliances that have shaped international commerce since World War II. The consequences are immediate and personal, affecting not just governments and multinational corporations, but also families trying to stretch their budgets and small business owners working to stay afloat. Understanding how tariffs work is essential to making sense of the current tensions between the US and the BRICS nations, and why these disputes matter for the global economy. This is more than just a policy debate, it's a story of shifting power, economic uncertainty, and the interconnected world we all live in. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. 5 major emerging economies that have rapidly gained influence over the past 2 decades. These countries, each with their own unique strengths and challenges, have come together to form a powerful alliance that is reshaping the global landscape. Together, they represent a huge share of the world's population, resources, and economic output. In fact, BRICS nations account for over 40% of the global population and nearly a quarter of the world's GDP, making their collective voice impossible to ignore. Despite their differences in culture, politics, and geography, they share a common goal: a stronger voice in a world long dominated by the US and its allies. By working together, they hope to create a more balanced and multipolar global order. China is a manufacturing giant, driving global supply chains and exporting goods to every corner of the planet. India leads in technology and boasts a rapidly growing population. Russia supplies vital energy resources. Brazil feeds the world with its vast agricultural exports, and South Africa is Africa's economic gateway, connecting the continent to global markets and investment. Acting together, their combined economic weight and political influence challenge the established order, pushing for reforms in international institutions. BRICS is building its own institutions, like the New Development Bank, to rival Western-led organizations and provide alternatives for development financing. Their push to reduce reliance on the US dollar is reshaping global finance, as they seek to trade more in their own currencies and promote financial independence. More countries want in, seeing BRICS as a platform for the global South, a chance to have their voices heard and their interests represented on the world stage. BRICS is no longer just an acronym, it's a rising geopolitical coalition demanding new global rules, and its influence is only expected to grow in the years ahead. President Trump's America First policy has sent shockwaves through the global economy, triggering a sweeping wave of tariffs specifically targeting BRICS nations. This bold move has not only rattled international markets but also signaled a dramatic shift in U.S. foreign and economic policy. In July 2025, the U.S. government imposed a blanket 10% tariff on all imports from BRICS countries. But the real shock came for India and Brazil, who were hit even harder, facing a staggering 50% tariff on key exports. This escalation has left businesses scrambling and trade partners reeling, as the cost of goods skyrockets and supply chains are thrown into chaos. The Trump administration justified these harsher penalties by pointing to India's continued purchases of Russian oil, defying Western sanctions, and Brazil's increasingly independent political stance. These actions, according to U.S. officials, undermine American interests and global stability. But these tariffs are more than just economic measures, they're a powerful tool of foreign policy. By leveraging America's economic might, the administration is pressuring foreign governments to fall in line with U.S. priorities, using trade as both carrot and stick. Trump's ultimate goal is clear: shrink the U.S. trade deficit, revive American manufacturing, and force consumers to buy more domestic products. Supporters argue this will create jobs and strengthen the economy, while critics warn of higher prices and global retaliation. Earlier, Trump threatened even steeper tariffs on any country moving away from the US dollar, a direct warning to BRICS, who have openly discussed de-dollarization and building alternative financial systems. These tariffs are a clear and forceful response to BRICS's growing efforts to challenge US economic dominance and reshape the global order. The message is unmistakable: the US will defend its position at any cost. This confrontation is about far more than trade. It's a battle over who gets to set the rules for the global economy and whose vision will shape the future of international commerce. The US has drawn a bold line in the sand, and now, BRICS nations are being forced to decide how they'll respond to this unprecedented economic offensive. Under pressure from steep tariffs, India made a bold move, offering to eliminate all tariffs on US goods. The Trump administration swiftly rejected the offer, calling it too little, too late. This public snub sent a clear message: the US was sticking to its hardline stance. The rejection united the BRICS bloc, prompting an emergency meeting led by Brazil's President Lula. Instead of dividing the group, the tariffs galvanized them to act together. The BRICS response was swift and coordinated, reinforcing their commitment to multilateralism. The US refusal was seen as a challenge to the entire bloc, not just India. BRICS leaders agreed. Their best hope for stability was in strengthening internal ties. The stage was set for a more unified, defiant BRICS, ready to push back. The US may have underestimated the power of collective resistance. The US tariffs had an unexpected effect, bringing India and China closer together. Years of rivalry and border disputes gave way to cooperation, as both nations faced a common threat. With Russia mediating, India and China resolved their border issues and pledged to be development partners. This diplomatic thaw was unthinkable just months before. The tariffs forced BRICS members to prioritize unity over old grievances. India and China began deepening trade ties, reducing reliance on the US market. The entire BRICS bloc rallied, accelerating projects like de-dollarization. The emergency meeting called by Brazil showed their resolve to act as one. Instead of weakening BRICS, US pressure forged a stronger alliance. The bloc is now more determined than ever to reshape the global order. Sometimes a common adversary is the greatest unifier. The trade war's impact is global and immediate. BRICS exporters, especially in Brazil and India, face steep losses as US tariffs hit their industries hard. Global supply chains are thrown into chaos, forcing companies to find new partners and markets. American businesses and consumers aren't spared. Higher costs for imported goods mean rising prices at home. China retaliates by restricting rare earth exports, threatening US tech and defense industries. Everyday people feel the pinch: higher prices, job losses, and economic uncertainty. Business leaders on both sides urge a resolution before the damage deepens. The interconnected world economy means shocks in one region ripple everywhere. Investors grow wary, shipping patterns shift, and the risk of a global slowdown rises. This is no longer just a trade dispute, it's a source of worldwide instability. The economic storm is only beginning. The ongoing tariff war is redrawing the global economic map in real time. The US and BRICS standoff accelerates the shift toward a more multipolar world order. Regional blocs and alternative financial systems are rapidly gaining ground and influence. The US dollar's dominance is under threat as BRICS pushes for more trade in their own currencies. De-dollarization is now a strategic priority for many, not just a talking point. For Americans, this could mean higher prices and fewer choices. For BRICS, new opportunities, but also new risks and challenges. The world faces a crossroads: return to cooperation or embrace economic rivalry and division. The choices made now will shape the next era of globalization for everyone. The era of stable, predictable trade may be ending for good. We're entering a new, uncertain chapter in the world economy's story.